All right, guys, today we got a real special guest in the house. I've been waiting to interview this brother for a long time, man. I'm glad that he's home now. He's safe. He's doing great things in the community. I'm talking about the one and only S1.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Yo, S, how you doing, my brother?
I'm all right, man. I'm good. Hanging in there, baby. Just getting reacclimated in society, man. What's up, man?
Yo, man, I'm just so glad to finally have you on the platform and get your story told in a way that it hasn't been told yet. So with my interviews, I like to start at the very beginning so the people can understand where you come from, who you are, and how you got to where you are today. So you're from Castle Hill Projects in the Bronx, right?
Castle Hill Projects, baby. Castle Hill Projects, Randall Avenue, baby. 10473. You know what it is, baby. Yeah.
Were you born in the Bronx or you lived there most of your life?
Nah, I lived there most of my life. I'm originally from Harlem, but I moved to the Bronx when I was young. And I look at it like this. You from where you go to high school, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So what age are we talking that you moved to the Bronx? What age did you move to the Bronx?
Oh, I moved to the Bronx when I was 7.
So do you have any memories of Harlem before then?
Hell yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. Because I was back and forth. I was back and forth from Harlem to the Bronx, back and forth. And spent my childhood in Harlem and the Bronx, you heard? So we call that HBO. That's that Harlem and Bronx only shit. New York City know what that is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So you grew up in a real big family, right? You got 10 siblings.
Facts.
That's crazy.
Facts.
Are you the youngest?
I'm in the middle.
Oh, you in the middle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you have that many siblings living in the projects? Like, what was that like?
See, everybody was everybody wasn't there at the same time. Some people would be at my grandmother's house, my aunt's house. You know, we got a big family. So if it's 10 siblings in the house, from my immediate family, I got about 30, 40 cousins. So everybody wasn't there at one time. And that's what made it seem like it wasn't overcrowded, you know?
Right. So if somebody get in a fight with one of you guys, they got to fight the entire family.
You got to fight the entire family. You got to fight the brothers, the sisters, the mothers, the father, the cousins. And then you got to fight
uncles.
My whole building. Because my whole building, we like family. That's that 580 shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And what did your parents do for work when you were growing up?
One was a teacher's aide. One was respiratory therapist. You heard?
But at the same time, like your parents were in the street too, right?
My pops, he did a little stint in the street. You know, look where we from. Everybody got multiple hustles, so the street is just like it's common. That's just commonality for us. We all got multiple hustles. Even back then, it might be the drug pusher, be the mechanic, the store, the store owner.
Slashes. Different slashes, slash this, slash that, right?
Slash that, slash maintenance man. You know what I'm saying? So that was just the norm, you heard?
Right. How would you describe your relationship with your parents growing up?
Got a good relationship. Had a great relationship. I wasn't getting hit or none of that, We were basically a close-knit family, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And would you describe like the household as being like real traditional? Like a traditional black household in the hood?
Yeah, conventional household. We did the regular same shit, Video games, played basketball. We played the dozens, snapped on each other, laugh with each other, cry with each other,
Right.
Traditional family shit.
So Hocus 4/5 is your brother.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Were you always closest to Hocus?
See, we all was close. You know what I mean? And we all still close. But Hoke is like in my age bracket. So I went to school with Hoke like throughout my whole life. So we was always at doorsteps,
Well, what is the age difference between you guys?
Oh man, I see. I can't. I want to keep the people guessing. I don't want to let you know who's older or who's younger. You know what I mean? we go by this. How do we look? What our age look like? You know what I'm saying? We don't tell our age.
But you guys are just like a couple years apart?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And how was your guys' Well, you said that you guys were always close, right? So like you guys always did everything together pretty much?
Yeah, everything, man. From the basketball court to the street to everything. We did everything together. You know.
So at a very young age, you and your siblings end up going to foster care, right?
So that's back. Yeah, yeah, back in the day. Only for a few months though. You know, because sometimes, listen, sometimes the household it gets out of order. You know, get a bit dysfunctional, and this is the '80s, so the streets was crazy. You know, so I'm just blaming on the '80s and the environment, the economic conditions where we from. You know, just caused a lot of pain when it came to how the streets looked. You know, I remember going outside and you just see crack, like crack valves, all in the puddles and water, and everybody was smoked out. And you know, I'm not saying the parents, but I'm just saying in general, just like it was a crazy time. So we wasn't in foster care for long, though. A couple months, literally a couple months.
When I interviewed Hocus, he said it was like a year, but nothing longer than a year.
Yeah, it was something like that. See, I was young. I don't even remember because we still had the parental visitation, and in foster care, it was still a family vibe. You understand? So it wasn't like you was with West Bubblefuck, uh, with somebody that didn't care about you. You know, you was with family. So
That's interesting because the way that Hocus described it, he said the lady didn't care about y'all like that because
I
she was
mean,
watching her own grandkids, so she cared about them more, obviously.
it depends. You know, it's two sides to every story. I mean, I you know, that lady was all right. I didn't. Nobody got hurt or harmed. You know, no one was abused or nothing like that.
So the
So
experience for you wasn't too bad.
I mean, yeah, it was just like you wanted to be around your immediate family, but at the end of the day, I knew I wasn't going to be there for long because I was still in contact with my immediate family. You understand?
Right.
So this lady was just a stepping stone to get back together. Um sometimes you gotta go away to make a comeback, man. And that's what happened. It was a breakup and then parents got back together and we've been inseparable ever since, you know.
And Hocus said that like I think it was like the first or the second day you guys had to fight like people as soon as you got there.
Yeah, because that's how it was. We was in Brooklyn. And Brooklyn had a different vibe. It wasn't Harlem, it wasn't the Bronx. So the Brooklyn cats, as soon as we stepped outside, it was we had to get it popping. I mean, as soon as I stepped outside, a nigga swung on me. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like 6 years old, you know? So that right there lets you know that violence is prevalent in our neighborhoods, even at a young age, you know?
So you had to learn quick.
You had to learn. It was forced to learn. It was either that or you got to protect yourself or you're going to get fucked up, you know? Wow.
How would you describe yourself as a child?
A basic, regular child, you know? Did a lot of reading, played basketball, you know? Was chasing skirts, you know, chasing these young girls at my age, you know? Hanging out with the fellas. Just typical upbringing in New York City. You know, going to the Rucker, you know, looking up the street legends, basketball legends. When I say street legends, street basketball legends and infamous gangster street dudes. So, you know, I already knew like from an early age that the lifestyle, the criminal lifestyle would be a possibility because we was around it, we was immersed in it, you know?
So you said that you were really into reading very early on, right? So that were
Fact.
you really into school then, or you just were really into like self reading?
I was into more self reading. I was into school, but it wasn't I wasn't learning as much as I did on my own in school. You know, in
Mm.
school they teach you the basics. They got their little curricula, and then they teach you whatever it is. But when I did my self reading, and I learned to play with words and learn different words, I used to just get the dictionary and just study words. You know, and when we go to school, there's 30, 35 kids in the classroom. So the teacher is only one teacher. So that teacher can't have a private session with you because that teacher has to teach a group. You understand?
Right.
A large group. So you had to take it upon yourself to learn by going home, reading. The internet was becoming a thing, so I was onto the internet shit early on. Like I was on the internet in 1995.
Oh, you was on AOL and shit?
I was on AOL. I was going to the library to get pictures because I used to like Dragon Ball Z when I was young, and this before the American version came out. Me, Hulk, a couple of my boys, we used to go to Fordham Road in the Bronx to the Chinese store, and in the back they'll sell bootleg Dragon Ball tapes from out of Japan. So we'll pay like $25 a tape, but it'll have like 5 episodes on each tape. So we was up to Dragon Ball '95, and we used to draw that shit and shit like that. So I was into shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yo, so let me ask you this, okay? Because I feel like a lot of black people love anime almost just as much as Asian people. What is it about anime that black people love so much?
The storyline and the realistic, cartoonish depiction of the characters, right? So I know that don't probably make sense, but let me break it down. Usually the cartoons we grew up on, Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, it just, it wasn't like anime. Anime, the movement was different. The fucking shit was like, it just reminded you of one of them old school karate movies. You ever saw like Five Deadly
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Is there's more realism to the art?
Yes, it's more realism to the art, and the graphics was amazing. So anime caught me early on. I'm a big fan of anime. I love it. Fist of the North Star, that caught me too. Akira, all that shit was just fire. You heard?
So in 95, you're already going on like AOL, going on the internet and everything, right? Were you going into the chat rooms and shit?
I used to go into the chat rooms, but I didn't understand it. Like I'll be too nervous, like because I don't know the people, right? So you can't. Back in the day, you go in the chat room, you don't know who you're talking to,
Right.
and then we already had all kind of memos throughout the school. Don't talk to strangers. So I would just see how the internet worked, but I was never really into it to where it was like I'm trying to make connections or network through the chat room. I was just like amazed by I could talk to somebody in fucking France in a chat room,
Right,
I was amazed
right.
by the technology, but the internet, I was like early on, I was a consumer and I was seeing where it was going back then. Cause I was young. I was like 9 years old. And I was like, look, wow. Like nobody had a computer in the neighborhood. So you had to go to the library. The public library was the only place you could go and access the internet. And then the hood started getting computers and the AOL connection, the modems and things like that.
Right.
Mhm.
So at an early age, were you already into music?
I grew up listening to hip hop back I'm talking about like late '80s. Like I was like a 3, 4 year old kid. And the first rap I remember was Big Daddy Kane. That was on the cable box where you had to turn the nozzle to get to the channels. It wasn't digital yet. There was no remote. So you had to turn the nozzle, and MTV was a stable because BET, they didn't play hip hop. They played in video soul. They played like New Edition and R&B, Jody Watley and shit like that. So MTV had Yo MTV raps. And then the first rap I heard was Big Daddy Kane and Ain't No Half Stepping. And when I heard that shit, I was like, oh my God. His wordplay was crazy.
Right, right.
Damn. I was like, look at that shit right there. You know? It was amazing.
So you're born sometime in the 80s, but coming up in the 90s, really, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Help paint the scene for us at that time of what the Bronx was like. You're a kid walking down the street. What are you seeing?
So I remember when I moved to Castle Hill, it looked nice. Like the grass was cut and it just looked like people was going about their business. And I was like, oh, this shit is cool. Until the nighttime came and motherfuckers was out there shooting and robbing each other. I said, oh shit. And you can see all this shit from the window. I'm talking about 6 years old, 7 years old. So it's like, what the fuck? It's like in the daytime, the shit is like a nice neighborhood. But when that sun went down, man, the goons came out. you know, it got
Yeah, because Hulk was saying that it's like every night you guys heard shooting.
it was so much shooting, and it wasn't just like revolvers and handguns. It was like machine guns. Remember, this is the height of the crack era.
Right.
So it was like our whole area and neighborhoods was infected throughout the 5 boroughs, and Castle Hill was like the headquarters of the drama. It seemed like, because I was from there, and that's, I'm sure every block was like that. Soundview was definitely like that. Monroe, Bronx, there, all our whole area was just a powder keg, and it was crazy. It was crazy, literally crazy.
But you were saying that like you saw so many crack vials and everywhere that you were going and walking pretty much, right?
Everywhere it was crack all over. Like I just remember seeing all them vials, and we knew not to touch them because I thought, because the stigma about crack was so powerful that we were scared to even touch the vials, right?
Right.
Because it was just, you turn on the TV and it had all those commercials. This is your brain on drugs, and you had Nancy Reagan saying, "Just say no," and you had murals all over the city saying crack is whack, and then you actually got to see some of the people that were affected by crack, and you start seeing how they look, and then that's where you get the term, oh, that's a crackhead. But back then, we didn't know that we was dehumanizing people by even saying that term, which is the wrong term to describe a crack smoker, you know. So we was just seeing the devastation that was happening due to economic reasons. That's the first reason. Before the drugs is economic reasons, the lack of capital. That's why the neighborhoods was going to shit. But crack fueled it. It was the scapegoat by the media. But it
Right.
really was an economic downturn for the whole country. So you got to blame it on somebody. You got to blame it on something. And crack.
So at the young age, right, who explained to you what that was?
Um, no one really explained it to me. So when you young, you observant, you can see what's going on. If I see somebody who looked smoked out, just can somebody with a big gold chain on and new sneakers and the brand new car, some money, you see the transaction, right? So I was seeing that all the time, and I knew common sense would tell you at a young age, this person is buying something from this person, right? And whatever they're buying is destroying them, and whatever he's selling is enriching him or her. You understand?
Right.
So it's like you see what's going on in the neighborhood. You see the exchange of money flow and the exchange of power, and you start taking notice, and you start thinking, "Do I want to be the crack smoker or the crack dealer?" Because the crack dealers looked aspirational. They looked affluent. They looked successful, right? And the crack smoker looked devastated and destroyed and distraught.
So you were so they were like really like zombified.
I'm not going to say zombified. I'm going to say that they were going through something, right? Because I don't want to describe people that smoke crack as zombies and things like that, because we go back to dehumanizing them. But they were going through something. And some of those people probably back then had mental health problems. They were probably going through midlife crises. You understand?
Yeah.
So it was more than just the crack, because crack, it's people who smoke crack. Judges, lawyers, doctors smoke crack. They go to work, they do heart surgery, go home and have sex with their wife, smoke their crack, and go back to work. So we just can't blame it on a drug. We got to blame it on more than the drug. We got to blame it on the economic conditions surrounded our the environment of the country at the time. It was an economic downturn, and our people suffered the most, black and brown.
So your father ended up passing away at a very young age. How
Yeah,
old were you when he passed away?
I was going on 12, so I was 11.
Do you remember what your response was at the time when he passed away?
I mean, I knew it would get a little harder because the head of the household is gone, but I also had comfort in having all the siblings and my mom still alive, and my grandmother was my grandmothers, both of them, were still alive. And we had a strong family unit, so we lost a big chain, a big link in the chain, but we still had each other.
Now he ended up passing away inside your guys' home, right?
Yes.
Were you the one that found him? I know one of your siblings did, right?
Yeah, I knew my brother. He had fell, and I really don't like talking about that. But one of my siblings found him, and he was unresponsive, and you know, we called the ambulance, regular procedure, and he didn't make it. He passed away.
Right. What do you think is the most valuable thing that you learned from your dad?
Um, do your research, because he was very smart. He was very smart. He was well read, well educated, and he always did his research. So when it came to a subject, he studied it and understood it to where he could kick it back to us. He was a good storyteller. He was a great storyteller, and I also learned to be patient. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to rush nothing. And then I learned what family is all about, because he was one of them guys that was there down for his family.
Yeah, Hocus said that, he really encouraged you guys, like made you guys believe that you guys could do things, you know what I'm saying? And he was the one that really said that you guys could be rappers, that you guys had that talent.
Yeah, because he was a big rap fan back then. He grew up in Harlem, so like friends of his was like Teddy Riley, people like that. So he seen it from when my mom told me when he first heard hip hop, he laughed. He was like, "Look, what the hell are they doing?" Because everybody was used to singing, right?
Right.
Back then. So when you hear somebody rapping over a beat and shit like that, with no band in the background, it was like something new. Like that wasn't the thing and shit. But eventually, he started seeing his peers and Cool Mo D. Those are people that he grew up with. He's from their area and their block. You know,
Wow.
they're from his block actually. That was his block, and so the hip hop connection always been there. Anybody in the five boroughs roots are going to be deep into hip hop, because not one, we started this shit, but two, we all know somebody that know the actual founders or the people who contributed to making this a global thing. Because it started here, it started in our backyard.
So when did you fall in love with hip hop? Was it when you first listened to Big Daddy Kane? Or did your
Nah,
dad introduce you to other stuff too?
my dad introduced me to other things. He was the first one to introduce me to Tupac music. So you remember when Tupac came out 91, 92, he actually took us to go see Juice. I remember going to movie theaters in Harlem and going to see Juice, and I was like, "Damn!" You know how that was seeing Juice
In the
when it
theater
first came out
too?
in
Wow.
the movie theater. I remember going to see Juice, and my pops was a big fan of Tupac, because he had a conscious message, and my pops liked the gangster shit, but he was more into the conscious hip hop from what I
Mm-hmm.
can remember. So like the realistic songs, and we had cable in our house, so we could watch BT. That's when BT, then BT started playing hip hop, and I remember seeing the culture just unfold in front of my eyes, even on the video music box with D Barnes and Ralph McDaniel. And I'm talking at a young age. I'm saying this because I remember this at 5, 6 years old, staying up to 1 o'clock in the morning to catch Pump It Up. People don't
Wow.
know shit about that. D Barnes came on at 1 o'clock in the morning. Ralph McDaniel came on Saturdays. You know,
So what
and
would you
so
say it was about hip hop that just spoke to you so much, that captivated you?
storytelling. Everybody loves a good story. So when you hear the storytelling, you just be like, damn. Like
So
you
your
could
dad
imagine.
probably liked Brenda's Got a Baby and everything,
Yeah,
right?
he loved that. He loved Brenda Got a Baby. He bought the single. They dropped the Brenda Got a Baby single, and on the B side was Lunatic, or was that Trapped? So it might have been
I
Trapped. I
think it was
know
Trapped because I
it
know
was.
Hocus' favorite song was Trapped.
Yes, it was Trapped. So when we first heard the story, and you hear the, and now the rhymes was like rudimentary compared to what Tupac did later on,
Right.
but it was so concise and clear, and it was like, damn, it's captivating.
The
I remember,
imagery, like
yeah, I
you
remember
could
the whole
really
song.
imagine it.
Yeah, we used to write the lyrics down, so we used to have to write the lyrics down back then. There was no, you know, decoding on the internet where you could just go and see the lyrics and fucking you could just learn the lyrics by fucking typing in something. And no, we had to write the lyrics down. You know,
So you learned basically like how to break down the lyrics, and have comprehension skills and everything like that because you were breaking down the rap songs.
yes,
So
yes,
there was no genius.com. There was no annotations, people telling you what this really meant and everything. You had to use your better sense of judgment and really figure that shit out. That was real hip hop. Like when you really cared, only a
that's
real hip hop fan will care enough to want to do that. You know what I mean?
yeah. And that's what caught me, the storytelling, the vocabulary. It wasn't even about money because hip hop didn't have money back then, and there was people on the corner that was richer than the hip hop artists. So we never got into, yo, I like Q-Tip because he got a Bentley. Like, no, we like Q-Tip because the fucking rhymes was dope and the beats was crazy. The music just made you feel a certain type of way, you know, because nobody had money.
Right. Because at that time, hip hop wasn't as commercialized as it is now.
Mm-mm. It was commercial because you do have to remember that Run DMC was selling platinum and LL Cool J was double platinum, so the money was coming up, but it was more
But it
about
wasn't. It didn't reach Diddy level yet. You know, when once Diddy started getting the shiny suits on and everything like that, that's when hip hop started having the Hype Williams music videos, $1 million budgets and stuff. You know, that's when it started going in that
that's when
direction.
that's when it started going crazy when they started talking about the marketing budget and the marketing and the promotion in the lyrics. So you went from something that was real conscious, something that was like moving and deeply told to, yo, they just gave me $3 million. You know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, it's a transition now because now it's like, all right, we still conscious, but what the fuck I'm gonna talk about? Like I can't once you give me $5 million, like I can't just talk about now we talk about my new life, me being on boats and messing with actresses or the baddest models. So it changed, it changed. It's still good, but it changed.
Right. But you know, it's crazy because then you can see that like art imitates life, but then life imitates the art too, though.
Yes. Yes. It go hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? But the early on is what really made me a fan of hip hop. And then what really, because you have to remember, a lot of us on the East Coast, we really grew up on West Coast music because the dominant force when I was younger was Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Warren G, Domino, Sam Snead. So the West Coast was the shit. Spice One and fucking E40 and MC8. So the New York, remember, New York was whack at one time. Like we had a few novelty hits. Black Sheep had a hit, Nice and Smooth was holding it down. Greg Nice, Gangstar, shout out, he was from Boston, but he's still an East Coast cat. They was holding it down, the Fool Schnickens, Daz Effects, EPMD, of course, Redman, but they wasn't as shocking as the West Coast. So the West Coast was really prevalent, the prevalent music when I started like early 90s. That's what I was gravitating towards, because the story
Right.
was more
Well,
powerful.
because you had the shock factor, like you said, of fuck the police,
Yeah.
right, and everything. But I mean, you still had Public Enemy and the power of that,
No, but
though.
see, by the 80s, by the 90s, the Public Enemy, they were still around, but the West Coast took over.
Right. I see what you're
They
saying. Yeah.
they took over the whole game.
And then what you know what I think really brought New York back was Mob Deep and the whole Queens kind of like Nas
Yeah,
and everything.
it,
That
that brought it back. Wu-Tang. So when the East Coast resurgence came back, that's what made me like really like hip hop because I'm like, damn, these dudes are really saying and spitting some shit. Because one thing about the East Coast, especially back then in the '90s, like going into the mid '90s, the storytelling was immaculate. It was
Mm-hmm.
gangster. It had a moral to it. If you listen to Nas, It Was Written album, a lot of people they downplay that album like it wasn't a classic like Illmatic. It was the storytelling on that album. There's nothing like it today. So, and New York artists were very like like masters at they craft when it came to the wordplay and the came to the wordplay and how to tell a story. You know, that's
Right.
what really made it like, all right, this is something I would want to do. Once Nas and Wu Tang came out and fucking Jay-Z, Biggie, of course, you know, along with the West Coast, like Tupac and Dre and them, that's what made me say, yo, I would love to be one of them, you know?
Right. So around 12 years old is when you start getting involved in the streets, stealing from stores, eventually going on to snatch chains, right? What
Yep.
was the driving factor of that?
A lot of it was like trying to prove a point to show people that, yo, I get down, I'm not scared to do crime. Um, I can't say it was money motivated, although that probably had a played a factor in it as far as the criminal behavior. It was more so like in our hood, you got to be known for something, right? So me, I did multiple things, right? I fucking played basketball. I went to school, so I'm known in school as a comedian. I was a joke a lot, and I'm known on a basketball court. Hey, yo, I got a little skill, but I'm also like, yo, I want that rep too. Like, yo, I'm a street dude as well. I'll snatch your chain. That was my mentality, you know. I'll sell drugs. I'll go in the store and steal, you know, because I was like, that's I wanted that reputation too, to be fearless and respected as far as in the street.
And you guys were stealing like a lot of video games and shit too back then, huh?
Yeah, we're stealing a whole bunch of shit. Like I said before, we'd go empty out of Toys R Us. I'm not proud of it. I'm just telling you what happened.
Right.
We'd go steal everything. We'd go fucking steal jackets, leathers, like I think I done stole about every item from a TV to a Nerf gun, you know, to kitchenware. I talk about really just, and we wasn't stealing it on some, like we was like housing that shit, taking that shit like we out there. Y'all say something, we fuck y'all up. Security and all of that. I remember one security guard, like I used to go to the movie theater. You know how you have to pay for your movie ticket? I didn't believe
Right.
in that. I used to go walk right in the movie theater, like boldly, like, man, I ain't paying for shit. I'll lift that rope up and go watch my movie. And I remember a security guard from my hood, he caught us, you know what I'm saying? And he kind of like called the police. He was just doing his job. But I remember the older cats in my hood, once the word got back, yo, that motherfucker called the cops on us. They did him dirty because that was just the credo of the neighborhood, man. You know, we don't call cops. We do what the fuck we want. We you know, we bold and dumb, you know?
Right. So eventually you start hustling. Now, when you were younger, your mother dealt with addiction, right? I know she's been sober for over 30 years now. It's amazing. But at
40.
that 40 now. But at that time, did you ever think about what you were selling was the same thing that your mother struggled with?
Nah. Listen, when you selling drugs, you just think about the money. I mean, it sounds heartless, but that's the truth. Whatever happened in the past is the past. I'm in the present day. So yes, I'm conscious enough to know that this shit is fucking up the community. But I looked at it like it's just a game. You understand? A game that I'm trying to win. And money is the scorecard. So I never had I know that sounds heartless, but that's just the game. I, I
Right.
I was conscious and aware of what I was doing, 100%.
Have you been able to process that over the years? And what has that been like?
Um, One thing I do know is it's bigger than me. Like that nigga Nino Brown said in New Jack City. It's bigger than Nino Brown. You know what I'm saying? It's it's bigger than me. America has a drug addiction. New York City has a drug addiction. People use drugs. People have been using drugs since the beginning of this planet. Somebody, the first human beings looked at them plants and said, I wonder what this shit could do to me if I manipulate them. So drugs are prevalent in our society from the crack era to the heroin era to the opium war, you know? So I don't look at it like it's the drug dealer fault for destroying the community. I look at it like, yo, this is addiction problem. This is a mental health problem, and this we need more powerful people to look at drug usage as a public problem that needs treatment than a capital punishment problem. You know, like a jail is the answer problem. Prison is the answer because that's not the answer. You heard?
Well, it's also an economic problem.
It's an economic problem as well. So drugs are like the cover up, really. It's the pretext to this industrial prison system, and they're using it as a tool to get us all in there, right? But it's not the guy on the corner that's causing the damage. It's we all know where it come from. I ain't got to tell you. You can watch a documentary and you know where it's coming from and you know who's selling it. I think it's so much money involved that nobody want to stop it. Why would you want to stop it, right? Something that costs $400 to make in South America, you can sell that shit for 25,000 here. Like, how could you stop that? There's no stopping that. That kind of money and that kind of value will corrupt everybody. So everybody is from the White House to the motherfucking crack house. Like everybody's corrupted by this money.
So, around what age did you join the Bloods?
See, where I'm from, it's sort of like how LA is. You're gonna automatically start claiming because of the neighborhood you're from, right? So I always thought I was in the gang. I thought I was blood at its inception because everybody else in the neighborhood was blood. You know what I'm saying? So the minute they started claiming in '96, I thought I was a blood. You know what I'm saying? I never even had an initiation. I was just me. You know what I'm saying? We were so gangster. We didn't like, man. We was already down. You know how they like? It's like being in the army and you so eager to go to war. Like sign me up. You know. As soon as that shit hit the neighborhood, we wasn't official. You know, officially stamped, but we always thought we was. You know what I'm saying? So I can't even answer that question.
Well, because everybody was turning blood around you guys, right? And then you guys were already a part of a crew, Sex Money Murder, and then that became Blood.
Well, that's I wasn't because you couldn't be. You know, I was young at the
Right.
time, so I would say I was a wannabe. Just
Got you.
a little young, dangerous wannabe. We before any of Blood even came to New York, we always had local crews. So what happened in New York is a lot of the local crews just faded and became part of the bigger sets, right? Because the Blood is a super gang. So we have local gangs, right? Like New York City and throughout the whole country, everybody has a gang. You'll be from a one neighborhood. Say if you're from the neighborhood, you're from Green Street, right? So y'all the Green Street boys. It's 10 of y'all. Y'all grew up with each other. That's just your crew. And then the Green Street boys start making a little noise. But the Green Street boys is on 10 of y'all. Whereas you start dealing with the super gangs. How could 10 of y'all beat 5,000 Bloods or 5,000 Latin Kings or 5,000 Platias? Y'all going to get destroyed. So you have to join a super gang in order to stay relevant, you know? So we started our local gangs, and
So,
then it just matured.
Bang Bang Boogie. P.O. is the one that put that together, right? Rest in peace to P.O.
It was P.O. and Hocus. They put it together.
How does the group get formed?
P.O. is the nucleus of the whole situation because he had relationships with everyone prior to all of us even knowing each other. Because back then I had songs with Mysonne. I was on the mixtapes a lot. So before I even got with the crew, I was killing the mixtapes because that's what it was in New York City. So a friend of mine named Red Child and DJ Famous and another DJ named Robbie Rob, they always had me on the mixtapes. And so I had my buzz before I even got with them. They was just signed to record companies and more in the industry than me and Hocus, but we was on mixtapes and stuff. And P.O. had an individual relationship with Cuban Link, with Mysonne, with me, with Lord Tariq, with Hocus. And he basically, him and Hocus was talking one night, and we like, we needed a movement. We already had the streets. We just needed a movement.
Yeah, Hocus said that you had an even bigger buzz than he did at that time.
Yeah, because Hoke wasn't like taking rap as serious as he started taking it after. He was more in the street, but he was rapping though, And I was just like, I used to write so much raps that I used to have to go to the studio and just vent. And I just had a platform because my man Red Child, he was distributing everybody mixtape throughout the New York City. So if you had a buzz and you was a DJ and you was known, you came to Red Child because he could actually turn your CD into commerce, right? Into dollars. And he used to leverage his business by saying, yo, I'll move your CD for you, but you got to put Hocus or S1 on a mixtape,
Wow, that's dope.
Yeah. So I used to be on 30 mixtapes, and those mixtapes used to travel way beyond New York City. I was in Florida, Miami one time, and I seen the mixtapes down there. I said, holy shit, the New York City DJ mixtapes. So that's when I knew like these mixtapes are powerful. They got reach.
So did you know Lord Tariq or Cuban before they end up joining the group?
I knew of them. Well, we all knew of them. They rappers, but I knew that there was a connection there because people from my neighborhood was cool with Cuban Link. So Capone, a few of these guys from the hood, they knew him. So I was like, oh, he's not too far away, right? Because you got to remember, they all from the Bronx. So we all separated by only a few people. So I knew that, like, yo, I'm going to meet Cuban one day, even before I met him. Like, I'm going to meet him because they too close,
That 6 degrees of separation in the Bronx is real.
And the world is real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Throughout the whole world. We all know somebody that knows somebody. So I knew Lord Tariq, not like I just knew him as I was just a fan,
Right.
Just a fan. P.O.
What was your first impression of them when you actually met them, though?
I was like, yo, all right. I was just happy to have a cosign because a few people co-signed me before that, but these are guys that like I respect their microphone and I respect what they did in hip hop, and I respect that they are respected by their peers, like their generation respect them,
Right.
So I just felt like I felt good just to have a cosign. So I felt good when I met them. Mm-hmm.
So I know that you guys have squashed the beef with Fat Joe now, and it's all peace. But that situation started from P.O., right? Because I saw a video of P.O. talking about how he had a situation with Joe where they had a little confrontation and he aired out Joe on a DVD, and then you guys ended up doing the whole diss song thing.
Yeah. So what? This is what had happened. It was a guy named Truth DVD. My dude, Truth. Right. He has a lot of circulation with his DVD. His DVD was starting to make its rounds throughout the industry because that was the DVD era. You remember that era? Smack
Right,
DVD,
right.
come up DVD. So Truth had his footings in that business. He came to do an interview with me. Now P.O., God bless his soul, P.O. was a drinker. He a drink, and when he get in that mood, he just start firing, right? So he start firing off at the mouth. Yo, that fuck Fat Joe, just out the blue. Now the dude came to interview me, and we just talking about regular stuff. But P.O. took over the interview because once you say something like that, that's shocking. It's like damn. And if you watch the interview, right, when he initially said that on Truth DVD, I'm in the background like, nah, Fat Joe, cool. Like I'm like, yo, this nigga's bugging. You know what I'm saying? It just so happened that Truth DVD was playing in the G Unit office, and they said 50 Cent walked by and stopped and was like, "Who the fuck are those niggas?" And once he seen what he was like, "Yo, all right, I like that." You know what I'm saying? And that's how it started.
So your reaction at the time when you're hearing him do this, like you had no idea he was going to do it at all. You were just like thrown off that he even said that.
Yeah, because I'm like, yo, one thing I didn't want to do was come in the game with controversy because it's like, huh, it just becomes about the controversy.
Right.
And then it's like drama is never good. I heard a saying, they said beef is only good for a burger joint. Beef is only good for McDonald's. It ain't good for somebody that's trying to do something with their music or their life that's positive. So I basically was like, we shouldn't do it. You heard?
But then like you guys ended up embracing it though at that point because it was working in your guys' favor to a certain extent. Like you said, you got the attention of 50 and then you guys end up firing on him on on a song though.
Yes. So what happened was this. We was all in the studio. So P.O. got all of us in the studio. Remember, him and Hocus kept saying, we need a movement. We need a movement. So they got Mysonne in the studio. They got Lord Tariq in the studio. Cuban Link came in the studio. It was me and Hoke and my man Drop. Shout out to Drop. Can't forget him. And a whole bunch of us. And we like, yo, what are we going to do? You know what I'm saying? What the fuck are we going to do? So I'm a big fan of just freestyle rap, right? And we got to get a hard beat. So I was like, who shit is harder than Swiss Beats? We load up the high the Jada Kiss Blood Pressure. So we loaded that shit up, and everybody like, all right, they vibing to the beat, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna set this shit off. I set it off. I dissed Fat Joe first.
Yeah, and then Hocus came after you.
Mm-hmm.
I think was Cuban really there? Because from his account, he said that like he didn't even know you guys were going to do that. Like he didn't want to like push you guys to do that.
No, he didn't. Right. So what happened was this. It was a subliminal diss. It wasn't even like I didn't even say Joe's name. I just said what I said. I mean, you could listen to the song. I didn't say his name. It was subliminal, but everybody else just started firing, and they fired subliminally. You know what I'm saying? And that was that. It just that's the way it was. And then I remember when we did this shit, I still was like, nah, I don't want to fuck with it. And I remember they were like, nah, just put it out, just put it out. So I remember like I had an email list, and I contacted everybody, all the DJs that my manager Red Child was in contact with. Mike used his resources. Cuban used his resources. Lord Tariq used his. Hocus used his resources. But I was going hard. I was on my computer, like sending that shit to everybody. That was constant contact. CC, just sending that shit to people, sending it in 200 people at a time. Because I had my email list was crazy with the DJs. And I was like, yo, this shit is going to pick up some steam, you know? When I woke up, that shit was on World Star. That shit was everywhere. I was like, oh shit, you heard? Like that shit picked up some steam. Even MTV, Shaheem Reed wrote about it, you know?
Wow.
And I was like, damn, all of a fucking freestyle. That's crazy.
But then at one point, you were the more vocal one out of you and Hocus, because there's that audio of you talking about Joe coming back to the Bronx after the Rick Ross incident, and you said he did a bunch of foul stuff. Now, when did your perspective of Joe change to what it is now?
My thing is this, right? When you in the street, I'm looking at it from a underground standpoint. So I'm like, man, this nigga ain't out here. I'm young. I'm stupid. I'm hanging on corners. I'm not even thinking like, yo, this guy got to go promote his shit worldwide. He already elevated past this level, so he can't be standing out there. He's already a celebrity. I was just more like, yo, this nigga ain't out here. He ain't the Bronx, but he was putting the Bronx on the map by being other places and performing all over the world, right? So you got to take them. The music got to go worldwide. So that was just my whole sentiment. Like I didn't look at hip hop like, even though it was global at the time, it was global in 2008. But I was like, nigga, you got to rep where you from. That's how I felt, That was so that's what would change. I'm like, yo, this nigga not even out here,
Right.
That's how I felt.
So then, like, you would say that, like, just with age, you started to realize that things change as far as like your priorities in life, or?
No, I was just like, from a hip hop standpoint, like I just thought that you have to be a platinum selling artist, but in the street. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you still
Like,
got to be in the hood.
You still got to be in the hood. You still got to embrace the hood. You still got to. I thought that, and it's total. It's a total opposite, because you got to grow as a person too. I'm young at the time. I'm 21 years old. That's all I know is the street. And honestly, I didn't think it was gonna go nowhere because all the other freestyles, yeah, it was on the mixtapes and stuff, but it wasn't. It wasn't like it wasn't a movement behind it. It was just like, all right, cool, yo, that kid can rhyme. So I thought it was just going to be some shit like that. I didn't think that it was going to be a big deal. You understand?
Right.
I didn't think it was going to go what they call viral. Like back then, I didn't even know what viral was. The shit went viral. So it was like, oh shit. And then, plus, Cuban had a beef with Joe. So it was like, all right, we already know that there's a problem over here. There's an issue. And if I fuck with you, I fuck with you. So my dumb ass was just like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. Because at the time I was already hot in the street. We was hot. So I didn't give a fuck what happened. I didn't give a fuck if I lived or died, I'm like, fuck it.
But
But,
I saw you say that you never thought it was that serious, right?
yeah. I never thought it was that serious because, like I said, we catching real beefs where people are getting shot and people are dying. What do I care about a rapper or some rap crews? Like, I never heard of these niggas in the street shooting guns. And I'm not talking about Fat Joe, because they got a street element to their crew, of course. He even been in the street. But I'm not talking about him. I'm just talking about these rappers. Like, who the fuck give a fuck about a rapper if you in the street? Like, nobody. The street niggas don't respect rappers like that.
Right. You don't hear about rappers really letting their gun go unless like Shine or something like that, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for the most
Even
part,
that
it's
incident.
like,
That incident was like, you can't take nothing from Shine. He did whatever. I don't know the situation, but like, that's some club shit. That's like, you ain't constant. Like, that wasn't. That was a big thing in the media because who he was a big time rapper, but that wasn't no big street incident. Like, that was another day in the office. You know what I'm saying? Like, people do that shit on a regular. So it wasn't like you know I it, we were just used to something different, and I ain't take it serious because I'm like, I don't give a fuck about how a rapper feel. I don't give a fuck about the killer down the block, how he feel about me. What the fuck do I give a fuck about some rappers? You know what I'm saying?
but
Like,
you were getting real threats at that time over that situation?
I'm not gonna say real threats. People was pranking, calling the phone, and was talking shit. And I was like, even then I didn't give a fuck. I'm like, what this nigga calling the phone pranking? Whoever it was prank calling and shit like that. So I'm like, yo, I was in the street walking around. Like I didn't give a fuck. I used to wear that Bang Bang Boogie shirt like it was a flag, you know?
Right.
I don't give a
Like
fuck where
it's
I
a
was
red
at.
flag, basically. Like your red
Yeah,
flag.
I wear my shirt. I don't give a fuck. I be in them niggas' neighborhoods, whoever. I wear my shirt. I just didn't give a fuck. And my crew didn't give a fuck neither. And they crews didn't give a fuck. Nobody gave a fuck. It was like, all right, whatever. But, that was a stupid way of looking at things, it was dumb.
Did you ever feel like Cuban tried to push you guys to be a part of that beef, though?
Nah. Cuban never said nothing about dissing nobody from Terror Squad. Nothing. He said a little bit about the story of like what happened and how things transpired, but I didn't dwell into that. I didn't dwell into that. Actually, if you listen to some of the rap from the Bang Bang Boogie album, or mixtapes, excuse me, it wasn't no album, it was a couple mixtapes. I used to always talk about the scar Cuban received, right? Just to weaken it, right? Because the more you talk about it, like that shit ain't nothing, nigga. That's a love tap, nigga. You good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was a rap about it. Cuban's like, you niggas stop rapping about my scars. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't rap about it in a funny way. I was rapping about it like, nigga, that shit don't hold no power over you. It ain't like it fucked up his face. He don't got keloid skin. So it's not like you could really see the cut anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yo, that Cuban was trying to get away from that in my eyes. But issues needed to be addressed. People needed to be entertained. So that's why I basically was like, F it. It was entertainment for me.
So there's been conflicting information about this, but were you guys ever in talks with signing to G Unit?
The only thing that I knew about that was there was a situation with 50 or somebody from the camp, I think it probably was 50, wanted to do something with the t-shirts. So he wanted to, from what I heard, it was like a 70-30 type of deal, and he was going to sell the t-shirts on his platform, and we keep 30%, he keeps 70. That's the only monetary thing I heard. Now, as far as when it came to like signing or people that was interested, there was more interest from Steve Rifkin than there was actually G Unit 50 Cent.
All right,
It was
well,
more.
before we get into Steve Rifkin, right? But because at that time, 50 he even rocked the Bang Bang Boogie t-shirt, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Was he the one supplying the t-shirts to you guys?
No, the streets was supplying it. My man Pete. People don't give my man Pete a lot of credit. Pete from Watson, I'm gonna give him all the credit and all the glory. Gilly, you got to give Gilly the glory and the credit because they brought the financiers in to like to put money into the t-shirt. I never spent money on a t-shirt. Now I spent my own money on mixing down the music, getting posters, because that back then we used to get posters and shit, and go places and have the posters up on album or mixtape covers. I never the t-shirt part of it wasn't my thing. Like that was more Gilly, P.O., Hoke. They was in control of that.
When I think about that time, man, I feel like you guys were all over thisis50.com.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That and what you call it, World Star Hip Hop. I
Yes.
just remember
Yo,
like
hold on.
seeing you guys there all the time.
Let me say a rest in peace to Q, because people didn't know I had a good relationship with Q. Remember Q from World
Right,
Star Hip
right.
Hop? And Q used to call me on a regular, and me and Q used to kick it. And he was just a regular good dude, man. And he told me about his come up. He basically how he started World Star and how it was taken off. So a lot of people don't bring up Q name. But I just wanted to highlight him because Q was a good dude, man, and that was one of my guys. That was one of my power weapons, man. If I needed something on World Star, I highlight Q. That should be right up there. You heard?
Bro,
So
man, he was before his time.
yeah, he was different. He was before his time. He was an excellent human being. I got stories with Q, just me kicking it with Q. And shout out to my man D from Bronx Net. That people don't give D a lot of respect. No, and I've been home and I didn't hear nothing from him. But D was the one who actually plugged me in with Q. And shout out to Nelson too. Nelson is a good dude too. Nelson helped out a lot too.
Now I know there was a situation where at the time 50 was beefing with Rick Ross, right? And Rick Ross came to film a music video in New York, and Lord Tariq ended up going to the music video shoot. What exactly happened with that? Because it seemed like after that, the whole connection with 50 got fucked up.
I mean, at the end of the day, you got to look at it like this. 50, I would say, somewhat embraced Bang Bang Boogie, and Rick Ross embraced Bang Bang Boogie too. It's just that at the time, 50 Cent had more power than Rick Ross.
Wait, didn't you
And
guys have issues with Rick Ross too, though?
no, the only person that had an issue with Rick Ross was Cuban. And that came from Khaled and the
Right,
we didn't
right.
have an issue. You gotta remember, Rick Ross signed Torch. Torch is from my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Kev is from my neighborhood. Torch is a good dude, official. He signed Torch. So we love Rick Ross. I knew about Rick Ross in 2002. Torch used to talk about him, and he I remember the history of Rick Ross back then when he didn't have a beard. You know what I'm saying? When Rick Ross was on Slip and Slide, and I remember he co-wrote the song "Take It to the House." Like I knew I had this information back then in 2002, so I was well familiar with who Rick Ross was. So to see Rick Ross in the neighborhood and embrace Bang Bang Boogie, I liked it. My brother spoke out from Rikers Island. You know what I'm saying?
I thought Mysonne spoke out too against
Mike
what
spoke
Lord
out
Tariq did.
too. Mike spoke, yeah. It was that. You know what I'm saying? It was a little turmoil because some people was like, "Yo, we fuck with 50." Some people thought that, and some people was like, "Yo, 50 ain't doing nothing for us." You know what I'm saying? Rick Ross is really embracing niggas. I'm fucking with Rick Ross. Like I'm gonna, hold him down at the video shoot. Me, I didn't feel no type of way because I like Rick Ross personally. You know what I'm saying? Like for what he did for niggas in my neighborhood, and I know that he's not a bad dude. You know what I'm saying? So I never said nothing about that. You know what I mean? Like I never gave an interview from jail. Hope doubled down and was like, you know what? And said what he said. But I don't even think Hope even meant that at the time. You know what I'm saying? He just said it because it was like, I'm gonna show a little bit of loyalty to the nigga that embraced me, which was 50. So I'm gonna send the word from jail. You understand?
Yeah, but I feel like there were members of Bang Bang Boogie that were worried that 50 was just trying to use you guys as a pawn,
No,
right?
he 100% used us as pawns, but we used him too.
Right.
See, you can use me, I can use you, just don't
Mutual
misuse me.
beneficial.
Yeah, it's beneficial. I mean, at the end of the day, like 50 cool, he all right. Like one of my mans just, he fuck with 50 to this day, and 50, he was just talking to 50 about me and shit like that. 50 was, oh, he just came home and shit, right? Like 50 is still cool. Like we ain't got no problem with 50, but I knew like the industry is the industry. Like I said, I don't take hip hop shit serious. Like
So then the situation with Steve Rifkin, right? Because he was interested in signing you guys, but that's Joe's man. So at the time, you guys were beefing with Joe in that way, though, right? So wasn't that kind of weird?
no, see, Steve Rifkin, from what I heard, because I wasn't talking to him. My man Tone was talking to him back then. But Steve was like, leave that shit alone. Like basically, that would have been a stipulation. Like, ain't no dissing Joe. Because it wasn't like he was like, you know what, y'all dissing Joe, so I'm gonna sign y'all. He liked the music. He was, from what I'm hearing, he wanted to do like a single deal or some shit like that.
Mm.
And Steve liked the music, but he in no way he was disloyal to Joe for wanting to show interest in Bang Bang Boogie. The word that I got from why Steve Rifkin wanted to fuck with us because they said he came in with a crew, which is Wu Tang, and he wanted to leave the game with a crew, which was Bang Bang Boogie. You understand?
So he would have still been interested in signing you guys, even though that Cuban would have been a part of that?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, Cuban was about to get off that vibe. From what I was,
Mm.
Cuban didn't want to diss Joe. Cuban wanted to just show his. Cuban was just happy that he was like back in the game. He didn't leave the game because he was still doing reggaeton and doing shit with Don Omar, Maya, and everybody. But he was just happy to be back. You know.
I think the way that he described it was that you guys being young and hungry gave him life. Like you basically gave him energy that to
Yeah.
like want to keep going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. To this day, Cuban is good. I probably hit Cuban on the internet once or twice. It's just that everybody nowadays is just all over the place. But I don't got no bad feeling towards Cuban. Like Cuban, good money. Cuban is good. Cuban was the first person to put me on a stage in front of 7,000 people to perform. And it's to this day, like I'll get on any stage and perform because of that experience. So Cuban brought something good to my life, you know? Cuban, good money.
All right. Well, I was going to address that later, but let's get to it then. All right.
Okay.
The whole time you were locked up for over 15 years, right? He never went to visit you, didn't
No,
write you. Did you feel any type of way about that?
no. Because at the end of the day, I had just met Cuban. So I knew Cuban for 7 months, like really him prior to to going to jail. It's not like I grew up with Cuban.
But
You
you guys
understand?
built like a brotherhood though, right? So like
Yeah, yes, we did. And I put myself on the line, for Cuban. But I didn't give a because the shit that I was doing in jail, I don't think he get down like that. Because the shit I was doing, I needed a different kind of friend. You know what I'm saying? I fuck rap. I needed some nigga that was gonna help me get some money. You know what I'm saying? I
right.
didn't give a shit about no rap. You heard? So I mean, I not saying I didn't care about Cuban, but I didn't. When I went to jail, I thought about rap. I was watching everybody. I was happy Corey Guns was on a hit song with Lil Wayne, and the people that I came up with was still buzzing and doing their thing. From P to even Hope when he got released after he beat trial, I was happy to hear Hattie Racks and Dice Peso and all of them. But I didn't give a fuck about no rap. You know what I mean? And Fred the God, I was happy that Fred the God started getting his respect and his just due. I was on some jail shit. If a nigga couldn't help me get no money, I don't give a fuck about that shit. You heard?
Did you watch the videos of our interview where he apologized to you and Hocus for that? Man, roll the clip.
So all I could do as a man is say, my apologies for not going to see them brothers, when they was in the hard times. And, they could act like it don't hurt, but I know it hurt because I know if the love is real, it's going to hurt. But I just didn't want that love to hurt those so much that you go to my enemy and be acting like, like that's the same as me. Like it's not. That man is not the same as me. And and he got more opportunities, I guess, over there. So it's a win-win for them. If they play like this neutral shit. So it's okay.
Let me tell you something. I've been watching y'all interviews from my jail cell because I had access. You understand? So I saw everything. Everything. I was not out of touch. I saw every fucking thing.
But
And
you familiar with the content, with the platform. So, but you were worried that I was going to ask you something too controversial though.
see, the thing was, when I first came home, I didn't want to do an interview. Cause I see your interviews. You be going in. You heard? You be like, yo, you be going in. But
do I be going in or do the guests be going in?
The guests be going in, but you provoke them. And ain't nothing wrong with that, man. You do journalist work. And you seem like
okay. Would you say provoke or do I ask the question that people really want to know?
You ask the right question.
Okay.
But sometimes now you got to be careful because it's things will become incendiary, right? It can inflame other shit. So, like, when I first came home, I did a few interviews and stuff, but I was just wanting to see where I fit in this new society. You understand?
Got you.
And I don't know. I didn't know how I want to project myself. I don't know if I wanted to be an intellect or if I wanted to come on here and just say fuck everybody and start a World War IV. You know what I'm saying? So I was still figuring out what I want to do. And for the most part, I like what I'm doing, even though it's a lot slower and I'm not running with 1,000 motherfuckers. And I still got 1,000 people behind me. I'm more on some positive shit. I'm kicking storytelling shit. I'm just taking it back to the essence. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I be performing this shit in front of mad crowds. Just positive. I ain't gonna say positive. It's just not. I'm not drilling. I'm just hitting you with good lyrics. So now I can just come up here and be intelligent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And be who I normally was. Because even before, and if you go to YouTube and look at my old videos, I got a song called Little Nigga in Castle Hill. When I was 18 and 19 years old, I was spitting bars. So, and I had a deep thought. So I want to express that, show my intellect side instead of just the warrior side,
Well, I think that you come across as more of like a chameleon. Like you can be either or, whatever the
But that's all of
situation
us.
calls for it.
That's everybody, right? Because
Right.
where we grew up, and we're like, I done been at the top of this society and at the bottom of the society, right? So I done seen this society from being in corporate offices, right? Talking about big money to being in the box, the shoe. You understand? So my experience in America is different than the average person. I done been to college and I've been in the hospital recovering from bullet wounds. You understand?
Right.
So it's like, at the end of the day, a bullet wound. I got shot once, a bullet wound. But the whole thing is, and it was by accident. But the whole thing was, and I ain't do it. Somebody else did it, shot by accident. But I don't want to say that. I'm not no Cheddar Bob. But the whole shit is basically my experience is it forced you to adapt. You understand?
Right.
And they say in jail, they had a saying. Like when I first came to jail, one of the OGs told me, he said, don't be strong like an oak tree. Be like a willow tree. An oak tree get uprooted in a storm. Even though it's strong, it get uprooted and it's a willow tree just it survives storms because it's flexible. So I'm all about flexibility. And I learned from like Al Pacino when he described his acting career. He said, I don't act, I react. You understand?
Right.
There's so much knowledge in that one little thing. So we are who we are.
So back to the what Cuban said in our interview where he apologized to you and Hocus, right? How did you feel about that?
I feel like it was no need for apology, but I accept it because if it's sincere, cool. But Cuban don't owe me shit, and whatever Cuban did for me is what he was supposed to do to enhance my way of looking at things in a broader scope because he did add on to my life. So at the end of the day, he didn't have to apologize because I didn't feel no certain type of way. He could have hollered, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't hate him for that, Like now, I'm just like, I be in the cut, I be chilling. The crazy shit is I haven't even seen Cuban. Like I've been out here. And I'm not saying Cuban not outside because he probably is, but I've been around. Like I've been around some shit. These 90 days I've been home, I've been around the top of the top. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see nobody. I don't see really nobody. You heard? They not in these rooms. They not in these places. You understand? At least not with me. So I didn't see Cuban since I've been home. But I like to see him, talk to him. You heard?
That would be dope, man. I hope you guys do end up seeing each other and having like a real brother talk. You know what I mean? Just a real heart to heart.
Ain't no
Did
hard
you I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I said no hard feelings or nothing like that. Cuban, he ain't do nothing to me.
Did you and Hocus have a talk before Hocus squashed it with Joe?
I remember Hulk was like, yo, we all know the same people. And the crazy thing is, what changed his whole mind about Fat Joe is Fat Joe actions. Like when Fat Joe was coming to see Percy in jail, when Percy was facing a life bid, that made Hulk look at Joe in a different way. Like, damn, that nigga really did for his people. And then when he come home and he see that Rich Player and them niggas are good people, and even Pistol Pete, I met Pistol Pete and sat down with him and talked with him. These are good guys. Like we just like dissing people that actually good people and people that we respect them. So it's like, damn, we all fam. We all know each other. We all, like even recently, like Terror Squad, they got a page on the Instagram. They sent me a DM that was just like so inspirational. I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Even Rich Player, I spoke to Rich Player and he seemed like a good guy, They don't come across as like somebody that I should have beef with, or should have been beefing with back then. You know?
So at the end of the day, I guess, does it come down to just more of like everybody has their individual experience with people? Because obviously Cuban's experience with these people is different from yours.
Yeah, but see, you gotta understand, Cuban is he's in a little deeper than me when it comes to dealing with somebody like Joe, because he was actually signed to Fat Joe. He was actually around them. They made history together, you know?
Right.
So they they ties were different. Like, I'm on the outside looking in. Cuban was on the inside looking out. You know what I'm saying? He was down with them. So that's a whole different kind of, if he feel betrayed, he really hurt by that portrayal, because that was his brother, you know? And Joe might be hurt by his betrayal. So we don't really know the true story, because Joe is not going to really talk about it that much. And Cuban, he talked about it, but we don't we hear two different sides of the story. We don't know what's going on. The only they was there. They know what went on.
Right.
I wasn't there.
So you're not trying to minimize, obviously, what Cuban went through, but at the same time, you understand that that was his experience. And like you said before, when you were talking about, I'm not going to judge Panda until he showed me different.
Yes. So in that case, I don't want to write it off like I'm disregarding Cuban feelings by not having an issue with the people that he has an issue with. But at the same time, like, just in a reality sense, that's not my problem. That's not my issue. You know what I'm saying? And Cuban already know that. He never asked me to get involved. He
Right.
never asked me. So I got to exclude myself. This ain't my beef. This is not my fight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's not my fight.
How did you feel when the whole back and forth was going on between Hocus and Cuban?
How I really, really felt, I think that Hope like reacted too fast, because Cuban really didn't say nothing wrong, but Hope probably felt betrayed by Cuban even just dissing him, that he went hard on embarrassing him or trying to embarrass him.
You think he was trying to embarrass him, though?
Yeah, if you're gonna reiterate and show uh the video of Cuban getting punched,
No, you're saying that Hocus was trying to embarrass Cuban.
trying to embarrass Cuban, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hocus not embarrassing, but everybody seen the video already,
Right.
right? So it wasn't. He just
But he did the
resurfaced it.
voiceover and he was making fun,
Yeah,
like, yeah, so.
because Cuban, he's not a punk. You know what I'm saying? He's not a punk. I don't know what happened that day. And the guy that he got it on with is a good motherfucker too. Hov is a good dude. So I don't, like I said, that's not my battle. Because Hov is a good dude. Hov, my nigga. I see Hov, I'm gonna give him a pound and a hug. That don't mean that I won't give Cuban a pound and a hug. It's just, that's not my battle.
Right. I
You know
wish
what I'm saying?
the situation between Hocus and Cuban never happened, because it kind of started on my platform where it was like Hocus did the interview with me, and then all of a sudden Cuban felt the way about the interview, and then he said what he did.
You
You know,
look, you be provoking shit. You see? You see how you start some shit?
that's not my fault. No, see, because Hocus didn't say anything necessarily wrong on the thing. He just shared that, like, he wanted to squash the situation with Joe. He didn't feel any type of way. He said, Rich Play and them is my family. Cuban's my family. Now, Cuban feeling the type of way and saying what he did, that part, yeah, you know what I mean? I felt bad about that situation, though. But I really hope that you guys can all have a talk, you know what I mean? And it could be good.
Yeah, it's still all good. It's like, it's not all bad.
Right.
I see Cuban doing his thing. He up here. Cuban's a funny dude. I be watching his blogs. It's funny.
Yo,
You
he's
know,
entertaining as hell.
yeah. Cuban's a natural. He's a natural. But you know, it's really Hulk don't feel. I don't think Hulk felt any type of way about Cuban. Cuban is his brother at the end of the day. They share a camaraderie. Like I can't just disregard Cuban if I see Cuban in the street and just ignore him. Like, nah, I'm gonna give Cuban a pound, a hug. He cool. You know what I'm saying? But if I see Fat Joe, I give him a pound too. Like I'm not on it like that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like the Terror Squad, they good. They good in my book. You know what I'm saying?
So you got any untold stories with Bang Bang Boogie you can tell us?
Bang Bang Boogie, untold stories. Yeah, it's a whole lot of untold stories, you heard?
Like what?
It's a lot of untold stories, man.
Y'all was running through chicks in the studio and stuff.
Nah. Yo, the studio for me, if you notice, if you listen to that mixtape, I'm on like the first, so I'm always the first person to rhyme because I finish my rhyme so quick. I be trying to get in and out. But it was females in the studio and shit. I ain't never paid them no mind. You know what I'm saying? Because I was there for business. One thing about me, I grew up like valuing studio time. So if motherfuckers is paying for that studio time, I'm really trying to record and use that time wisely because I'm trying to fucking record as much as
Yo, your phone's ringing. Oh shit. Oh no, that's me. My bad.
that's your phone. My shit on silent.
Sorry, so you were saying like it was never a party in the studio for you. Like you actually valued the time in the
I
studio.
valued the time, but we used to have so many people in the studio, it'd be crazy. But I was strictly business, and everybody loved like the shit I used to rap about and spit. So they gave me so much confidence. When I come out that booth, they used to go crazy. So we had a good time in studios. But Bang Bang. But let me tell you something about Bang Bang Boogie. That shit was like, yo, people were scared to death of us, man. Imagine just going to a club and you see 50, 60 Bronx motherfuckers. It was mainly Bronx people. And then Brooklyn people started fucking with us. Man, you was liable to get your ass whooped. We was on some like death row shit without the money. Like nobody back Bang Bang Boogie down. You know what I'm saying? Like,
man, see you bringing me to another question right now. So you know Kano is my bro, right? And that's your bro too.
Kano, hell yeah.
Almighty. Yeah.
Kano
During
Almighty.
the Bang Bang Boogie days, you guys being blood, he's a Latin king. Y'all was both rolling deep and running together.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was love. Cause you gotta remember, like, Latin Kings and Bloods been had a fucking truce. So they are brothers. So I already knew what it was. You know what I'm saying? Like it was all love. And Kano and them, they got a different kind of strength, you know? So, and Kano very, very smart. Him and Poe, they very smart.
Right.
And they know how to move. Poe, as a matter of fact, I spoke to Poe the other day. You know, they know how to move.
Shout out to Poe.
Yeah, shout out to Poe Rilla. Hell yeah, and Kano and Rappy and all of them. So, well, if we roll out like Bang Bang Boogie, man, they had to fucking stop that shit because that was like the Wu-Tang all over. We ain't just have a crew. We had a whole section of the Bronx and everybody started coming. Before you know, we had Bang Bang Boogie in different states. That shit was powerful, you know?
Because Kano told me that it was really scary when people would see y'all together because you see all these Latin kings together with all these bloods and nobody knows what is about to happen.
Yeah. You don't know. And one little incident, I remember we was in a club and we was in this club. We was in Sue's. You ever heard of Sue's Rendezvous?
Yeah, Sue's Rendezvous, yeah.
Right? Puno used to rap about it. Yeah. Rest in peace. So we was in Sue's and it was a crew in there that was getting a lot of money. They were from somewhere, I forgot, somewhere in the city. And they threw a wad of money in the air. And the money like started landing on us. So we was like, yo, watch where the fuck you throwing the money. Throw it on the women. So the guy went back in his pocket and said, what? Yo, it's just money. He threw the shit in the air again and landed on us. Man, he had so much fucking punches and kicks to his ass. Man, that was a Bang Bang Boogie moment. Like,
it was just one guy?
It was a crew of them.
Oh, okay. So you guys beat up the whole crew?
The whole crew. And we started getting a reputation. We was getting banned from these clubs. Like, the hip hop police, because now they will shut you down. Back then, we were so deep, you can't shut that down. You know what I'm saying? They didn't even want to with us. How the fuck you gonna handle 150 people?
That's crazy, man.
So we used to just roll deep, and the industry was shook. We shook that motherfucker.
Well, I heard a story that you were there for at a club incident involving Angie Martinez, DJ Enough, Swiss Beats, Alicia Keys.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was not. You know what it was? It was. I remember seeing Angie, and no, first PO goes up to Swiss Beats and was like, "Yo, let me talk to you." Swiss was like, "You talk," and PO was like, "Nah, come outside and smoke a cigarette. Let's talk." And Swiss like, "I don't smoke cigarettes." You know what I'm saying? Like, so PO was like, "Nah," but PO basically was trying to get Swiss Beats to embrace the movement and stuff like that. But I look around, I see Cuban talking to Angie, and he's talking to Angie, and everybody else is in the club. I went over to where my man Tone was at, and me and Tone was talking, and when Tone seen PO talking to Swiss Beats, he instantly grabbed PO and started talking to PO. So that's all I remember from that night. It was mad people in the club. That shit was jam packed. Bang Bang Boogie was like, that was nothing happened that night. We had so much different nights where
right.
shit got crazy, and you know.
But yo, if you guys were on Rough Riders or you guys got produced by Swiss Beats, that would have been crazy.
All of that was coming. Like everybody started opening up. Ron Browse, he gave us beats, but I went to jail before I could jump on one of his beats, and this one Ron Browse was like, he just dropped his hit record, Pop Champagne.
Right.
A lot of people were showing love. MOP, Little Fame gave us beats. Vinny Idol, a lot of people gave us beats. Heat makers, Charlemagne, the beat maker Charlemagne, not the radio guy. Everybody was giving us beats. People wanted to see us win. We brought that feeling back,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was a good time. It was a good time. All right.
So you end up going away to prison in 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that when you're sentenced already, or that's the trial and everything?
No, I went to jail in 2008, so I was awaiting trial. I sat on Rikers Island for almost 4 years. I blew trial, and I got hit with 19 years.
So, okay, take us through the actual trial. They're hitting you with like audio recordings and shit like that, right? And trying to twist it.
A whole bunch of audio. I had 10,000 audio recordings. So,
God damn.
and some of them audio recordings was inadmissible. So what they did was they took 300 audio conversations of mine and they played them like it was the greatest hits. They was like, yo, he meant this when he said that. So if I had a conversation with Hoke and I was like, yo, Hoke, we need to go uptown. Because in the Bronx, we call the Bronx uptown. So we was in Harlem. I call Hoke and say, yo, take me uptown. The police just say, they're switching and say uptown mean drugs. And basically they was just playing word semantics with my conversations. And that, along with a few rat ass snitches, is the reason why I blew trial.
Right. So because they had you guys on conspiracy, right? And then everybody had the other little small charges.
Right. So I blew to a robbery, assault, 3 drug sales, and conspiracy.
The way that Hocus described it, he said that you guys were not necessarily angels because you were living the street life, but the charges were amped up charges.
Yeah. See, it really wasn't a conspiracy. Because at the end of the day, everybody individually did their own thing. So even when they try to use the gang aspect, they didn't have me pegged as a gang member. Right? The judge said that was inadmissible. So now I'm trying to get a separation from the gang life, but they're like, oh, but these are your brothers, right? So there was no way they wasn't going to keep me on that trial. I mean, they was going to separate me from that trial. They wanted to keep me on that trial. So,
right.
So they amped up the charges, of course, because the guy that was telling, like the little young kid, he shot somebody in the leg and he was scared to do 6 years in jail. So he just told on everybody in the neighborhood. He made up shit too,
Were you guys really close to him?
No, his uncles was cool, we grew up with him.
Oh yeah, you guys were really close with his peoples though.
Yeah.
And they even felt bad knowing that he did what he did.
To this day, they kind of fucked up behind it, because it's like, yo, he didn't have to do that, Like, you didn't have to do that. Do you lose 6 years? Yo, when you get sentenced to 6 years in New York State, you're only gonna do about 3.5, 4 years. This guy was just like so scared, and the police coerced him to basically just tell lies. They wanted us off the street,
So what ended up happening with him?
I don't know. He could be in witness protection. I heard he was gay. You know what I'm saying? They say he was sleeping. No, I'm just joking. I don't know. I don't want. He's a fuck, but he's somewhere. Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I was with somebody that actually know about him recently. Say he out there just begging his mom for money. Like, he's just nobody. He's just once you snitch, you can't go back to none of these neighborhoods,
Right.
And he's just out here fucked up in the street. Like, he lost all his friends. He's a shell of himself. He's finished,
So take us through the actual day when you find out that you blow trial, you get the 19. Like, what is that like?
I was hurt, man, because I'm like, when you blow trial, you don't get the time yet. I had to wait another month to get sentenced. So they sent me back to Rikers Island for a month, and then, they sentenced me. But
even at this time, you already wasted 4 years of your life because you've been going through this whole experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So when I blew trial, I remember going back to the dorm, because I was in a dorm at the time, and the whole house looked at me and they was sad, because I was like one of them guys that was really well liked on Rikers Island, and everybody that knew, even the correction officers, was sad. And I remember calling home and speaking to my older brother who passed away, God bless his soul, my brother Reem, and he was like, "Don't worry, we're gonna get you the best lawyer in the country." He was just trying to lighten up my spirits and shit. But they threw me right in the box after I blew trial. So I was going through so much different emotions, because they was like, "Yo, pack up, you going in the box." I was like, damn. So I blew trial, and then you put me in punitive segregation, you punished me. So I guess that was to break me even more, And they threw me in the box. And I remember getting a letter from my brother again, and he was just telling me, he was just trying to raise my spirits. Like, he was just really trying to raise my spirits. It's going to be all right. We're going to get you the best lawyer, for appeal. And that was it.
So you said you were going through a different, numerous different emotions during that time, right? Yeah. I imagine when something like that happens, you're breaking down in tears too.
See, I didn't break down in tears. I broke down, and I started tearing because they was sad. You understand?
You felt, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So it wasn't like, if they all crying and breaking down, these are the toughest men in the world to me. And they breaking down, they're like, damn, because we didn't know what I was gonna get. Like, my lawyer said I was gonna get 30 years. And I said, damn, 30 years? Like, is this shit really that serious? 30 years? But the way they was back then when I got sentenced, because now all this prison reform, they wouldn't dare give you no time like that. The shit that I was locked up for, Panda, if I'd have caught that case now, I probably would have did 2 years.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was harsh back then. It was harsh, and to the court, we just a bunch of menaces to society. So they punished me, and I was this is my first felony. They punished me, got me out the way. I was mad young.
When Hocus got when he won his situation, right? Did that give you confidence that you were going to have the same outcome?
As far as with my appeal, because I already blew trial by then.
Oh,
yeah,
okay, so
I thought that I was gonna come home on appeal, because there was so much issues at my trial. Jurors was falling asleep. Like, this motherfucker couldn't even remember what the DA was presenting, or what was going on in the trial. So I brought that up as an issue. I had so many different issues. They denied it. in the appellate court. But I was just happy that Hope was home because I knew that it would make my mom happy. It would make my brothers and sisters happy. I knew, my whole life was going to be a struggle, or I thought at least it was going to be a struggle. So I just embraced the struggle. You understand?
Right.
Like I wasn't political in a sense where I'm here for a political reason. I mean, I did dirt, but I knew that them slaying me and giving me that much time, because I know people who was killing people and got 15 years, 12 years, 10 years. So for them to give me that much time, I know that was a warning for the whole neighborhood. Like,
so they were trying to make an example out of you.
No, they didn't try. They made the example.
Right.
They made the example. So I just took it like, all right, I'm a soldier. That's where the tough guys go, right? They go to prison. And it was the worst experience I ever had. But it was also, and it sounds kind of like contradiction for what I'm about to say, but it was a great experience in the same, because it taught me discipline. It taught me a lot, It taught me some shit that I just couldn't. Like, I felt more free being in prison than I was in the street, because I had obligations in the street as far as, I had a rap crew that I was a part of. I had a lot of pressures on me. When I blew trial, all that shit was over. You know what I'm saying? Like, just my civic responsibility was over.
It's interesting that you say that, because I interview a lot of people, that end up doing bids. And one thing that seems to be pretty common is, like, in a place where you have no freedom physically, a lot of people find their freedom mentally.
Yes. It opens you up. Now I can focus on getting to know myself, getting to know me. Because whether I'm free or whether I'm in jail, I still have to think. You understand?
Right.
I still have to live with myself. And I gotta know myself more. I gotta make a perfect me. And I think I came home better. I make better decisions and better choices. You understand?
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to do things for myself more than how I was back in the day. I used to do it for everybody. I used to just spread myself thin. Now it's like,
how old were you at the time when this all started?
22.
22. Mm-hmm. So then you spend the 4 years on Rikers, and then you get sentenced to the 19.
Yep, and I did 15 years out of that 19.
So they gave you 4 years time served?
They gave me 4. Yeah, well, the time served was included into the 19 years, right? So when I went up top, which is go up north, when I went up north to the state prisons, I only had 12 years, 10 months to do.
Got you.
So I did 12 years, 10 months up north.
But you did you went to a lot of different prisons though, right?
I've been to a couple prisons.
Give us the timeline.
I went to Sing Sing, downstate, then from downstate.
Well, Sing Sing, how long did you spend there?
Oh, well, I've been to Sing Sing twice. So the first time I spent a couple of months. I got up out of there. And then they sent me to Clinton. So I did 3 years in Clinton, and then I went back to Sing Sing, then went back to downstate. Then I went to the Fishkill, right? Went to Fishkill. And Fishkill, I went to Queensboro.
What was the reason for them moving you around so much?
One was because I got in trouble in Sing Sing. The second time I got in trouble, but I did good in Sing Sing though. I got an education in there. I finished school. I got a college degree in Sing Sing. They move you around because my classification was dropped, So my classification dropped, and I was getting in trouble, so they just moved me out of there,
It's crazy because when you live somewhere as busy as New York City, right, it's very rare that you have the time to slow down and really think about the things that you've been through in life, your trauma, what you really want to do with your life and stuff. So I noticed that a lot of times when people end up going to prison, that's when they really find themselves and they really take the time to deal with a lot of those things.
And I want to tell you this. That's right. But you can also find yourself out here too. But you
Right, you
gotta,
can.
it's better to find yourself out here, trust me, than finding it in prison, finding yourself in prison. It's just that you just gotta make great choices, man. Because
Yeah.
even in prison, when you go to prison or with someone that like that experience is a make or break thing. You know how you say something can make you or break you?
Right.
Prison can make you or break you. And usually it breaks the toughest. It breaks you mentally. Because you could be the most brawn, strongest motherfucker in the world, but if your mental not strong, it's gonna break you. It will definitely break you in pieces.
And what I mean too also is because with all the responsibilities and all the day-to-day things, a lot of times people they get so wrapped up in it. It's just like they feel they don't have the time to think about the stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's just like go, go, go constantly. But you're right. Obviously, it's better to find those things when on the outside rather than being inside.
Yeah, I think we do out on the outside. We devote our time to so much civic responsibility, the job, you know, the social life, the women, you got to be there for your girl, your kids. We don't really get a chance to reflect, not as much because when you're in prison, you got nothing but time to reflect. So
That's
tell
what
me
it's
how.
really about. It's about checking in with yourself.
Yes, you have to, because you got to live within your own mind and your own body, and if that ain't clear and stable, imagine how your presentation to the world is going to be. It's going to be lopsided. It's going to be fucked up.
So help those of us that never been to prison understand what is prison really like.
Prison is a place. Prison is torture for a person that is goal orientated, ambitious, caring, family orientated, because it slows you down. They take all your resources away. It's like being stripped down to the bone, and then you gotta gain your weight back. It's like, and you watch things slowly unfold. So while you're in prison, and if you had a relationship with a woman, you start seeing the changes that is taking place within that relationship. The woman start acting funny. Now you're about to lose this woman, but you start thinking, if I was in the street, she wouldn't be acting like this. So you lose the woman. You lose the connection with your children. Um, People start passing away that you love. It's just slow torture. Can you just imagine, like, slowly watching your life just fall apart?
And there's
That's
nothing
what
you can
it's
do
like.
about it for
Nothing
a
you
lot
can.
of those things.
Yes, and the only thing you can do is pray, stay in communication with your people, and try to insert yourself as a helper to your people, because you start living vicariously through them. So if I'm living vicariously through you, I want the best for you. So I'm only going to give you the best advice when I speak to you. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, if you do good, I'll be so happy. It's like I did good, and I feel like I had a part of it behind this wall. I had an impact. So we live for the small things in prison because it's so depressing. They take away all the big things, the things that matter. They take the time from you. Time is the most precious commodity, and they take that.
It's the most expensive thing in the world, bro. You can never get it back.
You can't get it back. You can't get it back. So prison is slow torture. It's just you slowly watch your life unravels. But then you hit a rock bottom, and if you're strong and you're smart, you can build yourself back up.
Right.
You got to reinvent yourself. Yeah.
Did you go through like those motions of like feeling it, I'm just gonna do whatever, and then you finally reach the point where you're like, nah, I really got to start doing positive things to put my life in the right path?
Nah, see, when I was there, I was thinking about surviving because I knew, first of all, I'm a handsome man. You know what I'm saying? So I know people gonna look at me like that dude don't look tough. They're gonna try me. So I knew, like, my struggle. See, everybody prison's bid is different. Like some people go through prison for 25 years and just avoid all the drama, never catch a ticket. A ticket meaning like get in trouble with the prison officials, go to the box. But me, I know like all the drama is gonna. I encompass all the drama because I came in here controversial. You understand?
Right.
I came in here as a leader. Now other dudes that think they're leaders in there, they're gonna try me and test me. So I gotta toughen up, and I gotta be just as ruthless and cutthroat as these dudes because it's a dog eat dogs environment. You know what I'm saying? So I just learned how to survive in prison.
You
And
ended up doing like 2.5 years in the box, right?
altogether, yeah,
That's
right.
crazy.
But it's that's normal for me. I should have did more, right? And I say that to say that people thought I would do more because remember, even from when I told you in the beginning of this conversation, it's all about reputation. See, somehow in our community is ass backwards. We look up to the person that suffered the most. So we look up to the person, damn, that motherfucker did 7 years in the box, far as the street, not the whole society, but I'm talking about the street society.
Right.
So the most worst things that could happen to me is I'm getting I'm getting respect for that, right? Yo, I did 7 years in the box. Like people respect you because like, damn, how the hell that motherfucker must be strong. He must be some type of leader or something because his spirit is people want to connect to strong people. But at the end of the day, nobody do that box time without losing their mind, you know, losing something. And I just want you to know that the prison shit is not for everybody, you know. And if the young motherfuckers out there really experience prison and see what it's really about, they wouldn't do half the shit they doing, you know.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
How would you say prison changed you the most?
Gave me discipline. It gave me discipline and let me know to have patience, you know. Even when I'm free now, some days I just want to. Some days I just be wanting to just say F it, but I'm like, and I'm glad I'm around. Like shout out to my man Bimo, you know, my brother Dollar, everybody, my cousin Pone, just so many people. They're like, man, just take your time, man. Just you know, I waited all that time in prison. Why would I want to jump into something for temporary benefit that's gonna fuck me up in the long run? So it teaches you patience, you know.
Right.
Right.
And do you ever struggle with like how you used to be versus how you are now?
Because I know, see me, I'm a believer in evolution. And I'm not talking about the physical aspects of it. I'm just talking about the growth aspects. Because Muhammad Ali said something that caught me. He said, if you're 50 years old and you're still acting like and living like you're 20, you just missed 30 years of life. So I already know that this life is about evolving, growing up. It's different phases. Things that was important when you're 15, it's not as important when you're 25. And the things that are important at 25 are probably not as important when you're 35. You understand? So it's all about growth. And I'm all about reinventing myself. So I don't have no, like the old me is still me. But it's just that I evolved into something different as far as agenda, you know?
What about when you first got out on IG shortly after I saw you were talking about wanting to smack somebody?
All right. I did. But here's the thing, right? Think about this. Would you rather me talk about slapping somebody and don't do it or slapping them?
Right.
So all of that was just venting. Now, if you go to my IG, the real S1 page, and hopefully you promote my shit,
I
you know what I'm
will.
saying? Promote my page in this interview. The real S1 page, you'll see that all that shit been erased. Because you ever heard of a guy named Osho?
Yeah.
Osho. Always talk about who you were yesterday and who you are today. You know? Now I'm not trying to say have a split personality, Like one day I'll be acting crazy, and then, but it's just the truth. How I felt today is not how I'm going to feel tomorrow or the next day. So that's just how I felt at that moment. I just vented and put it on social media, you know, because I wanted to slap this motherfucker. Few people. I didn't do it. The
And that's
warning
the
was,
growth. That's the
yes,
growth right there.
I didn't do it. I didn't see him. I didn't see them either, you know. But like you said, that's the growth. So my thing to you is, if you see me having one of them episodes, I'm just venting. Because some of these dudes out here, Panda, let me tell you something, man. They should be slapped because they're doing too much. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know, I think Styles P said it best, right? He said he's all like he believes that ass whoopings need to be handed out. He just don't want to be the one handing them out anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like he trying to grow to that point where it's like to control himself, even though he does believe that people need to get their ass whooped still.
Yeah, of course. You have to think. People are doing things and getting away with shit, right? Out here. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm talking about in the street. But
Right.
even in all aspects of life, that they shouldn't be, they doing things they shouldn't be doing. People are pretentious. They claiming things that they're not supposed to be claiming. They're acting a certain way that they're not supposed to be acting. So it's just like you being a sheep and you get around a wolf. If you act like a wolf is gonna tell you're a sheep. You understand? Like we know you're a sheep. I see the fucking wool on your ass. You're not a wolf. You don't even have fangs. So my whole thing is, it's just a lot of that going on. A lot of perpetrating, a lot of backdooring, a lot of misleading, and that's why I vented on IG, because I could tell you a whole bunch of stories. It'll take a whole nother interview. But people are lying. They're out here telling you things, promising you things, and then they stop picking up their phone. You understand? It's like shit like that. And I came from an environment where your word is your bond. Now I know this ain't the jail, this ain't prison, but I still live by those codes. Like if I say something, I do that shit. And if I can't do it, if I say it and I can't do it, I'm gonna give you an explanation why I can't do it. That's just real man shit. These dudes are so
Facts.
cowards. They'll say, I'm gonna help Panda, right? I'm gonna introduce Panda to Jeff Bezos because Jeff Bezos is gonna give Panda $1 billion. They convince you that Jeff Bezos, that's their friend, and they're gonna make sure Jeff Bezos look out for you. And then they stop picking up their phone, act like they never had a conversation about looking out for you, about putting you on with Jeff Bezos, but then start telling other people, man, that nigga Panda want a handout. He want me to put him on with Jeff Bezos. Dude, you the one who told me you was gonna introduce me to Jeff Bezos. There's shit like that going on out here, you know?
Bro, in this industry the music industry, especially this content game, you don't know how many people I done interviewed. Yo, I'll get you an interview with this person. I promise you, I keep my word. I'll do it. You know, and I'll tell them every time, like, don't say that, because there's so many people that say they gonna do something and they don't do it. Nah, I ain't like that. I'll do it for you. Next thing you know, it's
They don't
like,
do it.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to ask more than once either. So it's like, if I remind you at one time, that's still one time too many, you know?
Yeah. And that's just what goes on.
Yeah.
That's what happens out here in the industry. And then when they see you looking like you about to be prominent, they want to jump back on board. And then it's like, dude, I don't even want you around me no more. For you
Right.
just lying. There's a lot of that going on. And it's not just industry stuff. It could be regular stuff.
Right.
It's like, damn, this is what it is. Like you motherfuckers are out here just like misleading and talking and just chatting. And you don't, and there's no substance in what you're doing or saying, you know. So I just stay by myself, Panda.
How bad is the food in prison?
How bad is the food in prison? Okay. One, it tastes bad, but two, it's super unhealthy because they give you soy, and too much soy, especially the soy that they give you in prison, it's like it's a female. It stimulates female hormones, right? A lot of estrogen in the soy, right? So it's causing guys to have emotional female tendencies, Also in the Kool-Aid, there's a chemical that basically kills sperm cells, right? So it's like it kills you. It destroys your reproductive system. It destroys your whole regular system, your immune system. It really kills you. And then when you go to commissary, it's even worse because all the food is high in sodium, it's high in sugars, it's high in fat. So there's so many people I've seen die in prison due to unhealthy. You know who died? I was with Joe Frazier's son. You know Joe Frazier, the boxer.
Yeah.
I was with his son, and I seen him drop dead
Wow.
because of from eating the food in prison. You know, like I mean, I'm not gonna say that was the cause. I'm not a MD, but I see him eat. The guy ate the worst shit in the world. So the prison food is tastes bad, looks bad, smells bad, unhealthy. It kills you. It's designed to kill us. You know.
Because people say that, yo, like, you know, I was in the prison so good that I had a chef with me all the time. I had, you know, I always had the connection to the commissary. I had people making stuff and everything. But you're saying that even that, obviously, because of it's all bad ingredients.
Everything is bad ingredients. So even if you had the chef and all this other stuff, you're still eating bullshit.
Right.
So I mean,
because there's not a lot of fruit or anything, right? There's not like a lot of like
no, it's and the fruit is already like GMO'd out. It's nasty.
old.
You bite the apple, and then you know the yellow inside the apple. In 10 seconds, it starts turning. I mean, it'd be white, and then it starts turning yellow. Start rotting. It rot after 2 minutes. So you know it's a terrible apple. I can't say it. The only thing good in prison when it comes to food is when your family send you a package, because then you could get lettuce, tomatoes, and fruits and veggies. You know,
In
more
some
healthier
places, they don't
protein.
allow that anymore, right?
No, well, in New York State they allow it, right? You can order it, so you can order. They have vendors where you can order the food, but in New York State, the packaging, as far as when it comes to food, is like good because you can go to have your family order stuff from a supermarket that you'll normally eat if you was in the street. You know, that's how I survived.
So did you like Jack Mac and all that stuff or no?
Yeah, I ate Jack Mac because Jack Mac is the only fish you can make it taste like anything. You can make Jack Mac taste like pork, chicken, frog, cow, whatever. You know, so it's one of them type of fish. So yeah, I ate Jack Mac, all that shit. You know,
You know, China Mac, right?
I was with China Mac and Sing Sing. Yes.
Oh, you know him personally.
I knew. See, China Mac when he came through, he was there for a violation. But I know China Mac. Like I know him. I
Oh,
had
you
conversation with him.
met him when he had gotten out and then he had to go back in.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I met
That's my
China.
bro, man. Yeah, China Mac. I saw the video where he was making the food, like showing the people like how they really do it in prison and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like feeding to people to show them like this is what it really tastes like. That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah. China Mac was good. He was cool. I was with a lot of people that's known. Like I was with so much people. Shit, you wouldn't even believe who I was with. But China Mac was a good buff, man.
Who else? Who else were you with?
I was with Louis Rankin. You know who Louis Rankin is?
Nah.
That's Lennox from Belly. You ever saw Belly? The
Oh,
movie Belly?
right. Yeah.
I was with Louis Rankin. I was with the dude from the Bronx Tale, Daniel Progado, whatever the fuck his name is, the one Calogero from the Bronx Tale. I was with him. I was with the other young kid from Belly. Remember on the bench, he was with Nas,
Yeah. Where
and
he
Nas
gave
gave
him
him
the
a
chain.
chain. Yeah, I was with
Yeah.
him. I was with G Dep. Shout out to G Dep. That's my boy. I was with G Dep.
Oh man, shout out to G Dep, man.
I was with so many motherfuckers, man. Infamous people. I was with I was with so many like, you know, hip hop dudes. I was with a lot. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people.
What was the first thing you did when you got out of prison?
The first thing I did when I got out of prison was I might have said a prayer. quick little prayer, to myself. And I went to go see. I went to be around my family. I went to City Island, and I was just around my family, just chilling, catching up on things. A lot of my boys, a lot of my good people.
You ain't. Oh, what was your first meal out of prison?
I ate some fish because
Okay.
I heard too much stories about people going to eat like fast food and then their stomach filling up. So I was like, you know what? I was already eating a little healthy while I was in there, so I ate a little bit of fish, a little bit of salad. That was it.
You ain't run to go get some pussy?
I mean, nah, because
you was knocking them down in prison already. You was knocking down the CEO in prison?
Nah. I ain't want to with them dirty ass bitches.
Yo, that shit happens a lot though, right? Because I hear people talk about it all the time.
Yeah, some of them, they be with it, but it's like I'm too cocky for that shit. I was looking at them bitches like they was dirty. Even in a fucked up situation, I was like, man, I forget the fuck away from me, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys remember in jail, we control the jail, so it's like I could talk shit to them because I got their salary. You know what I'm saying? Because we was making money like that in jail, so it's like I never was even interested in them bitches.
Right.
Even the pretty ones, I'd be like, man, fuck you.
Yo, wasn't you married at one point?
Yeah, I was. Mm-hmm.
Are you still married?
My ring right here. Married to the game, you heard?
Gotcha. You got kids?
One.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
Boy. And
Yeah,
what was that like seeing him outside?
it was different because he's not used to me. I was going his whole life. Because when I was going, when I went in, she was 4 or 5 months pregnant. So he don't have a memory of me from outside, but he always used to come inside to come see me. We got trailer memories, like he'd be in a trailer with me for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
But it was different because now I got to learn him. I'm still learning him. He's like me, but he's more nonchalant.
Right.
He's really he got no worry in the world. He's just like one of them kids. He's a good kid though, a great kid.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, everything good.
So I know you're doing some great things in the community right now with Gilly, with Guns Down, Life Up. Talk to us about that, man.
Guns Down, Life Up. That's something that's my way of giving back to the community, because when I was younger, we had positive people in the neighborhood that was trying to look out for us. So now, as a older person now, to somebody that's 15 to 20, I want to give them guidance, because I've been through it. So I think if they hear the information from me, as far as like what to avoid and which direction to go, that's going to lead to something, I think they should hear it from me because I've been through it. I've been through the worst, so I can tell them the worst about the worst part of life and show them and aspire with them to want to do good.
That's a fact, man. And obviously, who are they going to listen to more? Somebody that been through it or somebody that come through in a suit and everything? You know what I'm saying? So like that's great.
And Guns Down Life Up give me that platform. Gilly gave me the platform. Gilly was like, I want you over here with me,
Right.
Just like old times. And Gilly been nothing but supportive, a big brother. I love Gilly. Gilly, he's a different human being. And it's not even about the money. Like, I don't even care for the money. I'm glad that some of these young people, they listen to me,
Right.
and a lot of them are doing positive, and they got the world that this shit right here changed the whole world, and they got this shit making them powerful, making them smarter, and I just commend all the young kids that work with us, that's participants in the program, and the kids that I'm gonna meet in the future. Like, I'm just so happy that they got somebody like me that can help them, you know? Cause I'm genuine with it. Shout out to Jimbo, Mata, Maria, everybody at Guns Down Life Up, Lazarus, Real, K, Ice, Trip, everybody, the whole squad, Tammy, everybody.
Man, shout out to everybody making that positive, effect on the community like that, bro. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, S1, I just want to thank you for your time, bro. Is there anything you want to say to the fans before we go ahead and wrap it up?
Check this out, right? Follow me on the Real S1 page. Follow me. And just know that I'm not perfect. I'm still growing as a human being. So don't judge me. Grow with me. Grow to love me. Grow to learn me. You know, I'm going to grow with y'all. You know, shout out to Panda for giving me a platform to speak on. Shout out to everybody out there. The whole Bronx, Castle Hill. Love y'all. Monroe, Soundview, Bronxdale, Stevenson Commons, Park Lane, Bronx River, Hutz Point, whole 10473, from the water to the wall. Signing off. Your brother. The Real S1 page, IG. Follow me.